Good morning, my brothers. It's me, Wardom's Fire. I'll try to keep my voice down because I know how YouTube likes to crack my microphone. Okay, I wanted to talk today about what females need to catch up on. Many women today do not even understand that in the 1970s they had a sexual revolution which enslaved them and freed men. This is the bottom line that came down to the sexual revolution. We had pure equality. We had gender roles. We had equality through the gender roles. This is why gender roles were so specific. What you see today are females still looking for the strong, independent man. They are still looking for the hunter. Somebody needs to tell these females that it's now 2015 and hunters are no longer needed. They have to become aware of the fact that men are no longer those kind of men that their nature seeks. The only men that are that way currently still are the gangsters, the drug dealers, and the bad men. This is why they still are attracted to the bad men, because they are still animalistic by nature. They have not joined the social code. They have not joined the social norm. They are still those guys out there who act like cavemen. And these are the women, these are the men that women are attracted to. They need to understand that their own selfish deeds in the 1970s, which led to their own sexual evolution, is the reason why men today are no longer the men that they want to have. They need to be held responsible for their own fucking deeds. I mean, all you have to do is look at see what their revolution has resulted into. Their entire revolution, the sexual revolution, has only succeeded them into wearing slutty clothing. That's it. Before that, man and woman got along. Man and woman were happy. Man and woman were married and had children and were prosperous. 70s came by with the fucking revolution. And all of a sudden, women are no longer attracted to men. The divorce rate is skyrocketing, and women are starting to dress like streetwalkers. So congratulations on your fucking sexual evolution, which is a pure fucking joke. But you can't have your cake and eat it too. If you want mankind to change for you and become chivalrous for you and become your stupid little pawn in your dumb, boring game, your godless game, then you are asking for your own issues. That men nowadays are no longer the masculine beings that you seek. The caveman with the club in his hand is your own doing, ladies. Absolutely. You have emasculated men, disgraced men, shame men into going off and dying in the masses. You are responsible for your own fucking behavior. And it's time that these women out there really wake up to their own freaking deeds. Because men are suffering for it, but they are suffering too. But they are so damn stupidly stubborn and ignorantly dumb that they cannot see that their own selfish behavior has led to this moment in time. Men warned them. They didn't listen to the men. Even back then, they were disrespecting men. You see, women are very disrespectful. They have no caring for a man, no compassion for a man, and no interest in what he has to say. All they actually use men for is to have what they want to say be said and repeated into a deeper, darker, baser voice. In other words, a woman only wants to hear what a man has to say if she is influencing the man on what to say. Women's whole sexual gender revolution has put them into shackles and in chains, and has freed men from the shackles and chains that women put them in. This is why nowadays there are millions of one-night stands. This is why women are still fighting for if a man can go around and sleep around, why can't a woman go out and sleep around? Well, who said sleeping around is a good thing in the first place? It's not. It's very destructive. At least a man can handle it. What happens to a woman when she sleeps around a lot of times, huh? She becomes emotionally unstable and mentally fucked up in her head. And at the age of 60, she'll start having like 30 cats running around her. You see, gender roles were the proof that equality existed. This is why they were called gender roles. This is why we had the role to fulfill. Your inequality, as you saw it, was your equality. And what you have now is inequality. This is why you are never satisfied and always bitching and bashing on men that we have more than you do. Because we were equals until you all selfishly fucked it up wanting to have everything. If you didn't bother to try to have everything, ladies out there, you'd be living in an equal world. But you don't want the equal world. You want to have a world where you dominate, and that's not going to happen. And as a matter of fact, if you continue down this road of selfish behavior, where you only give a shit about yourself and you act like a godless creature, then you will find out pretty soon that not only will the opposite sex no longer help you, they're actively going to get into your way. If you challenge us and demean us and demasculate us and think that we're just going to tolerate it, you have another thing coming. And men have been telling you this for years. You refuse to listen to them. You'd rather drag them to the divorce court and take away all their money and think you're getting one over on them instead of understanding that he's going to get even with you. Men are going to put a stop to this. You are not in control. You've never been in control. The only thing you think that your vagina equals control. You have no control over men. When a man acts like he wants to have your vagina, guess what happens? As soon as you give it to him, your power is gone. So don't act like you hold the power in your little pussy down there. That's complete insanity. No woman has power over me with her vagina. As a matter of fact, when I see a vagina, all I think about is work. Oh, I gotta make that thing happy. It might produce a kid. I think about that shit too as a guy. I mean, you can't sit there and tell me that you're so beautiful that I'm going to fall in love with you and then you'll have complete control over me. Because all I look for when I see a beautiful woman, I'm like, okay, well, she's a beautiful woman, but obviously she must spend 3 hours a day to make herself look that beautiful. That's 3 hours a day. She's not really doing anything. You see, I see the woman behind the makeup, the one behind the mask. And I don't fall for it. As a matter of fact, no make-till man falls for it anymore. We look at those things nowadays. If you've taken 2 hours to put your makeup on, it's a reason why not to date you. Because that's 2 hours that you're not productive. We as men seek helpers in females. We seek the other half. We don't seek the narcissistic chick. And just because little teen boys out there nowadays seek the narcissistic chick because they don't know any better, does not mean that the ones that are in their 20s and 30s are seeking that also. And if you want to go out like godless harlots, spreading your legs to every single man out there, then you, by yourself, are degrading yourself and disrespecting yourself. So if you wonder why you have low self-esteem and low confidence, perhaps it's because you are degrading yourself like a cheap prostitute. You see, karma strikes you back. But I don't like to call it karma. I like to call it God. If you go out and act like a prostitute, then your acting behavior will reflect off of you. So if you act like a slut, dress like a slut, you're going to be called and labeled a slut. Not only will you be called and labeled a slut, but on the inside, you're going to feel like a cheap, dirty, rotten, skanky hoe. Why? Because you are those things. So maybe your self-esteem issues are not really man's fault, but your fault because you're acting like a cheap harlot. Something for you to think about. I am tired of men getting labeled certain labels such as a deadbeat, a loser, and all these other things I like to call men, when in reality, it's them. And when men start to realize that females are projecting their behavior onto them, men will finally have the wake-up call that they need. A lot of men today blame themselves when the relationship ends. As a matter of fact, most men, around 90% of men, do not understand that females can fuck up the relationship because they have been instinctively born and raised in the manner of a woman can do no wrong. A woman is emotional. A woman is the one that wants to keep the relationship going. The woman is the one that wants to make sure that her child has a father. That's how we are raised as men. When in reality, it's women are cheap, slutty, and easy, have no respect, no morals, and no God in their life, and they are a soulless creature. So we are raised one way, while women are raised the other way. And when we hit the age of 30, 20 to 30, we find out just how they really are. And this leads to MGTOW. But if we were raised in the way that they were supposed to be, when we knew as a child already how girls really were, then perhaps there'd be no marriage left today at all, and no man dating any woman. But since we are brainwashed by our single mothers to educate us that women should never be beaten upon, women should always be worshipped and idolized, we don't wake up to the true reality until we're about 25 to 35 years old. So think about this, guys. You're raised by your parents to make you believe in a false reality, and then at the same time, these women are being raised in a false reality. And then when these two realities clash later on in the 20s and 30s, there's a lot of problems. Like I went back to just saying, gender roles were existing. They did exist at one point. Man was hunter-gatherer, woman was provider-nurturer. These things did exist in the 50s, but you all killed it in the 70s. And you wanted to kill it for your own selfish, whorish, harlotry ways. You all decided that your vagina, your choice. So we men have decided, okay, fine. You want to act that way like a selfish little spoiled bitch, then you're not going to get any love or respect from us. You all have traded in marriage for the one-night stand. And you've done it with great joy and a smile on your face, because at that time, it was only benefiting to you. Because you, the women, can have sex with anybody at any time. While a man struggles to have sex, women can just get sex anywhere. So you thought that your fucking sexual revolution was a good thing. Because you're selfish, insane, impulsive, and you need the instant gratification. And since you took in all those things, like sin seducing Eve to eating the apple once again, since you took another bite of that apple, things have not been going your way. And you still blame men for it. You still say that men are the problem. You will never realize that you yourself are the problem. Men are not the problem. Women, you are. In court, emotion is not validated at all. Yet nowadays, we validate emotion. In public, we validate emotion. This is why everything is taken to the people's opinion in the first place. This is why the people's court matters so much. Because the people's court runs on emotion. The legal system does not run on emotion, but the people's court does. So people like to take their issues nowadays to the people's court. And what do I mean by the people's court? Mass media brainwashing. And if you want to know about the highway to hell, that it really exists in this world, it's called mass media, as in mass media news and mass media entertainment. If you are in that cycle, and if you are in that world, then you are living inside of the highway to hell. But let's go back to females, about to the 1970s again, when they decided to stab all men in the back and become cheap harlots. So now women in the 80s and in the 90s and in 2000 have no idea that they sold off their souls in the 1970s, and they cannot figure out what is going on. They still like to blame men. They still seek the hunter-gatherer by nature, of course. They have that hunger for a powerful, strong man, but they don't understand anymore that there is no reason for a caveman to exist anymore. We don't have to go hunt for our food. We go hunt at the local grocery store. There's no reason for a masculine man to be around anymore. As a matter of fact, if a man does try to be masculine with a female and he grabs her by the hair and drags her into the cave, his house, and he fucks her, that is called rape. But females still seek this man inside of every man, and they are disappointed and let down when they find out that a man is nothing more than an average man. Like I said before, women love man for being a man, but they hate men for being human. If a man shows emotion, there goes the relationship. If a man is not strong, there goes the relationship. They have this false delusion of what they want a man to be. Well, they have created a world where that man can no longer exist. A man can no longer go out and be the hunter-gatherer. He can no longer go out and flex his muscles and beat up on a girl and drag her home. He can't no longer smack his woman and educate her and correct her anymore. These things have been stripped from us. So while they have been stripped from us, they want us to continue to behave that same manner. As if, in other words, to say, go out and be masculine with me. Be a real man with me so I can lock you up in jail. Well, that's the praying mantis for you. The praying mantis, for example, mates with her mate and then eats him up alive. That's the same thing what human women are doing now. If you want to be a masculine, manly man, you're going to get fucked like crazy. You're going to get your dick sucked. She's going to even swallow your cum, and she'll be the perfect little bitch for you while you're having sex. But then she's going to call you a rapist. And why? because she sought the masculine man, and when you gave it to her, it scared her off. It made her feel like she was no longer in control. You see, commercials even tell women this every single day. You all wonder, how are commercials fucking up women's head? How are commercials out there designed to be? You even hear it that 90% of all the commercials are now focused on women. So how can these commercials possibly control these women? What is it? Well, take the thing called girl power. Or how about the bottled water from Coca-Cola that says that women are in control? You see, the brainwashing very simply is telling women that they are in control. They are not in control whatsoever. If you don't believe me, look at their emotional chaos. Emotion is a fucking psychopathic trait. Do you understand that? It's a psychopathic trait. If you act on emotion in the moment that you are acting, you are a psychopath. Because you're not using logic and rationality and reason. You are using emotion, which is a very chaotic, irrational, psychopathic trait. And if you act on it, at that moment, you're psychopathic. So whenever a guy comforts a woman, he's basically comforting a psychopath. Whenever she's crying, and he comforts her, he's comforting a psychopath. There used to be a time, let me tell you this, okay? I believe, first of all, that the Bible is completely accurate. Well, and in that time, the Bible, the women were very powerful. They were very strong women. They wouldn't cry for shit. They walked through the desert, skinned their own animals, pumped out their own water from the well, carried the water. They were powerful women. Look at the women today in 2015. Let's take, for example, in Los Angeles. They don't do any of that shit. They're completely wuss bags. They want to act like they're frail, weak, narcissistic little beings. But the truth is, women are not emotional. If you don't believe me, look how they behave with other women. They are bitchy, cold, evil, manipulative, and seductive. So why are they all that to other women, but then to you act like a giant teddy bear? Because it's a charade. It's fake. It's false. It's phony. So what we have now is a very clear indicator of who really is the problem. And as a matter of fact, if you could sit in front of the mirror every day, and even if you only take 15 minutes, but if it only takes you 15 minutes as a woman to put on your makeup, then you are idolizing yourself. And if you're idolizing yourself, that is very narcissistic. And narcissism is a psychopathic trait. It's a psychopathy. It's psychopathic. So we have a pretty good, clear indication here of who is the genuine psychopath, men or women. And clearly, it's women. So are we going to allow women to live in the delusion of being a princess when she's nothing more than a demonic harlot? Are we going to constantly allow commercials to feed women that they are in control when they are absolutely out of control? It's going to come down to men versus women, and it's going to come down to men saying enough. Now, I know all of you think, well, that's what the MGTOW group is. But that's not really what the MGTOW group is. The MGTOW group is not that strong yet. It needs to become a lot more stronger. But we have to wake up men to the simple fact that emotional misuse is psychopathic. Now, let me also prove that a little bit further. If a woman can walk into a police station and claim that she's been raped and do it all just out of spite and out of pity, just because she's angry that the guy dumped her. Well, now we see her using emotion as a tool, as a weapon in her arsenal. But it still remains to be a weapon. What happens if a man pulls out a weapon today and uses a weapon? Let's say a man's in public today and he pulls out a gun. What's going to happen to him? Most likely is he's going to be arrested. Going to get thrown in jail, or somebody else on the street will also pull out a weapon and shoot him down first. But what happens when women use weapons? Absolutely nothing. So why is it okay for women not only to be evil, but also allowed to use weapons? I want you all to think about it for a second. I'll be right back. I'm going to keep this broadcast very short. It was just to make this video today, let everybody know how I felt about it, and I think that other men should take part in this as well. I might continue the broadcast later on, but as for now, I'm going to sign off and keep this one very short. Thank you for your time. See you all later. This is War Done Spoiler. Bye.